Hi, I'm Loretta and this is my sister, Sharon. We are founders of the plant-based retreat, The Detox Barn, and we're also a comedy double act. I know, funny vegans. Shoot me now.
9 years ago, I was diagnosed with a chronic autoimmune disease and got myself better using a plant-based diet. Since then, I've just fallen in love with living well.
I retrained as a natural vegan chef, and each week we'll be interviewing experts in the wellness industry, as well as sharing the highs and lows of trying to live well as single mums living together with our 2 kids.
How well have we lived this week? Well, we feel like we can never get ahead because I'm constantly getting parking fines.
It's been relentless.
Like as if I do generally feel like it's almost like a disability. Like whether I've got ADHD, I can't read the signs. I can't take in the information.
But even when we do take in the information, we're still getting fined. I could have paid off my mortgage with the amount of parking fines that we are getting. It's just like what we pay one and then another one lands. We got a free massage, right? We got a free massage to do a reel. We drove there. We got a parking fine where we parked the car, and we paid for parking. And then, didn't we?
Yeah, I don't know. We did something we didn't realise.
We went through some road. I can't, even in the photo, I'm trying to decipher what we actually did that's caused another parking fine. So basically, that free massage has cost us 180 quid.
Yeah, 180 quid for 2 massages. You know, like when you're just a bit skin and you're like, right, okay, we need to like read the signs. What does it say? We read it, we pay for the parking. No matter what we do, we even got a parking fine on our drive this year. I mean, that's how bad our parking is. Don't know whether to kind of pull the disability card and go, look, this is a neurodiverse thing. I don't understand signs.
It's not even understand.
I feel like
it's so tricky.
I feel a bit Greg Wallace. I'm like, it's not my fault. I've got ADHD. I can't process this information.
It's so confusing. No loading, but parking between 2 and 3. After 3 o'clock, you can park from 3 till 6, and then it's residents only. What? I found myself Googling how to appeal, and I had to pull over. Had a massive hay fever attack. And was like literally, you know, the tears were stopping me from driving.
I had a bout of incessant sneezing attacks where when I was sneezing so much my eyes kept closing, I had to pull over.
I had a heart attack, but I'm okay now.
I thought I was having a heart attack, but it was actually a panic attack, in case I look at the records.
None of this can be verified by doctors because we're just making it up. I thought I was going into labour, even though I'm postmenopause. Yeah, so that's where my mind is going, is trying to come up with reasons. I cannot keep paying for parking fines. If anyone out there can help us, I'm actually scared to drive.
But the parking fine that we actually got on our drive was because our wheel was hanging over our drive.
And it was at 9 o'clock at night, so it wasn't like I parked there all day. I pulled up, I picked up my daughter from Girls Brigade. That parking fine happened in the middle of the night. I mean, it's like people have got like, I think there could be a device under our car, and they're parked over the drive. Go now, 2 o'clock in the morning. Go,
it's like
get them.
Someone is following us.
Yeah, it's like they've got like.
See, they've got like, we're being followed.
We're being tracked, and it's like, you know, follow them wherever they go because they're going to make a mistake. They're going to fuck up, and we're going to get them. Wherever they go, whatever they do, we are going to give them a fine.
And they're watching us at home. I mean,
yeah,
that's how bad it is.
Surveillance. I think we should check under our car.
Yeah.
But then I get desperate, and I'm like going, Sharon, well, maybe we could write to them and say that our car got broken into in the middle of the night, and they were looking for stuff in our car.
They released the handbrake,
and then the handbrake, because then it wouldn't be us, and then take photos of the glove compartment open, because that has happened. People have broken into our car.
That happens daily because we keep forgetting to lock the car.
Yeah, so every time we wake up we're like, oh, did you leave the instruction manual on the front seat? No, obviously they've had another rummage.
Yeah, I just feel like I can't get ahead. No matter how much money I earn, I pay it back in parking fines. How do I get ahead in life? How do I get ahead?
And the more we're so vigilant now. We're literally, I think it's making us make a mistake.
Yeah.
We're like literally going, no, be careful where we drive, and then we pull it down a no entry sign. I'm like, that was no entry! Too late, the cameras have got us, turn around now, go! And then we're like going down the wrong side of the road. We've turned into Mr. Bean while we're driving because we're so worried about getting things wrong. We cannot get another parking fine. It just can't happen.
No, I mean, I think we've probably spent about 800 quid this year in parking fines. Actually, that's not a joke.
No, it's not. It's really depressing because it's not going towards anything. It's not going to our savings. It's not going towards the uni fees.
Savings.
Yeah, savings. One day, one day we will save. So, any tips on avoiding parking fines? Really helpful.
So this week we have got the amazing Dr. Sui Wong on the podcast. It's an incredible hour. It's jam-packed with healthy tips and advice on how to live your optimum life.
I learnt new things, and obviously we do tons of research, so she taught me lots in this episode. You suffer from migraines, how to stop your sugars from spiking, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a really good one. This episode is sponsored by us, Gavin Sisters, and our very first product, Funky Coffee. It's triple certified.
Paid a fortune to sponsor this.
Yeah, we're paying ourselves.
Yeah.
It's triple certified organic Arabica coffee, and it's boosted with potent adaptogens. The health benefits are many, but don't just take our word for it.
Yeah, instead of us banging on about it, we decided to test our coffee out with our guests at the Detox Barn and take a listen to what they have to say.
They're not getting paid.
No one's getting paid here. Let's be honest.
So we've just served Funky Coffee at the Detox Barn. What did everybody think?
Coffee is delicious. Amazing. And it's not bitter and it tastes like real coffee.
I was very sceptical, but absolutely it was stunning.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. And did you find, because you had it yesterday, did you find you had a crash afterwards, or did you feel like you had sustained energy?
Sustained, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
They want to buy shares in the company. Okay, thanks everybody.
For our listeners, you can get 10% off. Go to gavinsisters.co.uk and use the code podcast at checkout.
Today on the Gavin Sisters Wellness Show, we are thrilled to welcome Dr. Sui Wong, a leading consultant neurologist, a researcher, and a passionate advocate for brain and nervous system health. With years of experience working at the cutting edge of neurology, Dr. Wong brings a unique blend of clinical expertise and compassion to everything she does. In this episode, she'll help us unravel the mysteries of the brain, explore the mind-body connection, and share practical insights on how we can all support better brain health. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Sharon. I'm so excited to be here. Gavin Sisters. I love it, sisters. Sharon and Loretta. Thank you so much. It's
We've been rabbiting so much before the podcast started, and so excited because Sharon and I love nothing more than a doctor, but also with their feet firmly planted in lifestyle medicine.
Yes.
So you're also trained in lifestyle medicine, which is
Yes.
amazing. So tell us, how did you get into lifestyle medicine?
So actually the training in lifestyle medicine was because I thought, well, if I'm going to talk about like lifestyle things, can I talk about it as a doctor? Do I need to be certified?
Yeah.
That's how I kind of got into training to get then my diploma in lifestyle medicine. So how it all started was really a personal journey to begin with. A personal journey that, as with all my highly specialized intensive training as a neurologist and then doing the specialization in vision, neuro-ophthalmology. So I do both the brain and also the vision side of brain. It was intense.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how intense it was, but until I look back. Because, I still remember vividly, like about 2011, I was like craving for Diet Coke because I was not eaten. I didn't really sleep. And then my morning clinic was going to afternoon clinic. I've not eaten. And then I just have to go get something. And it was 5 p.m. And the patients who were meant to be seen at 5 p.m., there was still so many of them waiting. And the only thing I could get were chocolate or some fizzy drink. So all that really took a toll. But it wasn't just that. That it was just the culmination to that point where I go, ooh, something's just not right. And so that kind of was the start of my journey to start to make changes. I've always been interested in health.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very privileged to be a doctor because I feel like to be a doctor is just the most wonderful and special thing.
Aww,
and
lovely.
for me to become a doctor, yeah, I grew up in Malaysia, and for me to get to medical school requires so many things, including my parents who were just sacrificing with working so hard and saving money, and then all the competition to get a place. But I remember when I was a child, you know, when I thought, oh, I just want to be a doctor, I was just really interested in health. Yeah. And then, of course, as a doctor, what I am able to do is I am able to help people recover from illness. And then as it evolves, I realized that, you know, there are things that we really should be talking about before people get sick.
Yeah.
And so that was how it kind of came together with my own personal journey of improving my health through nutrition and, you know, physical activity, and actually through yoga. We can talk more about that, in mindfulness. And then, so that was around the time reached a point where I realized I was having a lot of personal benefits and also my family. And I was in clinic with patients, and I thought, why am I not talking about this if this is really helpful? Yeah. So that was the first time I thought, oh, can I talk about sleep? Can I talk about breath work? Oh, doesn't sound very doctory.
Yeah.
So I thought, let me just like get certified. That's how a lot of doctors we feel like we should be like get more and more training about things. So that's how I got my certification from a diploma.
Can I just ask, so you said you were working as a doctor and you were sort of downing Diet Cokes and eating junk food. And I know I've actually spent time with a lot of doctors that come on our retreats, and a lot of them say the same thing. The food that's available is just processed rubbish.
That's right.
So what did that journey look like? So how did you change? What did you do first? And when did you start seeing the improvements?
So I must say that, so firstly, as I was going along my journey, I just reflect back, yes, exactly, as a doctor, you know, we work on night shifts, we're working in a hospital. The only thing we can get would be sandwiches from the vending machine. And when I started going, okay, I want to be healthier. It just reminded me of when I was a child. I was very interested in nutrition, about reading labels. So I went back to going back to the labels of what exactly am I buying from these machines. And it also was a journey because I used to think I've got no time to cook. No time to cook. To the point where, you know, when I was training in neurology, I just remember I would go to Asda, buy the frozen pizza, put it in the freezer, and then no problem, I have a meal when I get home. I just take the frozen pizza, put it in the oven, and that would basically be my kind of meal. And it was later on, there was this short period when I then also did volunteer work in the tropical countries. So I did a diploma in tropical medicine, and it was a full 3 months of just with other doctors doing postgraduate time. And I was staying in a house share. So at that time, we were already, you know, doctors who were in postgraduate situation. So my other 2 housemates, they were cooking, and I was going, "Oh, you're cooking," and then they were looking at me strange, going, "Do you not cook?" And I was like, "I've got no time to cook." And then that's when I realized that, no, of course, those are habitual thoughts, and you know, it's not really true. I can easily get into all these habits again. So I started. So around the time when, after I finished that period of, you know, like drinking Diet Coke all the time and getting crisps and chocolate to survive, it was after that, around that time, I started doing a lot of yoga and being more mindful and aware of what am I doing, what am I eating, what are my choices. And that's also when I have started having time to, you know, try out recipes, try to cook for myself, and you know, again, then you know, deep dive about how it is. Oh, okay, that's really interesting. I can create this recipe really easy, and actually, I just need to understand the principles of preparing certain things and be really quick. So that kind of evolved over, you know, over some time, and it's so funny because I cook for my nephews, and I just remember when I started cooking all these more plant-based foods, and they were like, "Oh, we don't like it," but that was the start of my experimentation. I was very bad at cooking, but then more recently they were like, "Oh, it's really good. Can you cook for us?" They're really happy when I cook for them. So it's all part of that, you know, that journey of.
And what was the effect on your energy levels? How did it affect your practice? How you showed up at work?
Yeah, huge. So I now realize that, of course, it's not just the food I eat, but also the way I was coping with stress, the way I was having sleep deprivation. You know, I really would get crashes of energy. Well, I now realize it's spikes of sugar and then crashes, combination of the food I eat, combination of my stress levels. So it's almost like I think of it like different threads coming together in a very similar time over the past 15 years, which is why then I felt like, all right, okay, there is something to this and I can bring it together for how I deliver care in the clinics. So yeah, my energy, now I understand that, okay, if I have something big coming up, I need to be maybe particularly dialed in with my sleep, with my nutrition. And then it's not about perfection. It's not about perfection. And I'm definitely not perfect. It's more about, okay, now we understand what are all these threads coming through, what are the factors at play, and what can we kind of adjust a little bit at a time.
And so what, like now, because obviously I know you still work in the NHS and you don't have much time, like what would you grab for lunch? Do you bring lunch in now?
I do. So what I tend to do is I cook a lot more than I need to in the evening, and then my leftovers would be my lunch. And sometimes, let's say if I don't have time to prepare, then it could be early morning. I would just quickly blitz something like, quickly cook a bit of rice or pasta, and then put it in the fridge. Resistant starch, I can talk more about that. A nice tip for balancing blood sugar and gut health.
Because I heard that before.
Yes.
When you put pasta in the fridge, you get less of a sugar spike.
That's right. So carbohydrates like rice, because I, from my cultural perspective, I eat a lot of rice. So rice,
I love rice. Yes.
So there are things about how do we choose what kind of rice would be less of a sugar spike, and also how we cook it. So things like rice or potatoes or pasta, things with starches. Once we cook it, if we cool it quickly,
in the fridge.
Yes, that's right. And then it forms something called resistant starch. And then you can reheat it and eat it.
That's a
warm.
brilliant tip.
Yes. So then there's one of the things that then balances my blood sugar. So what I tend to do is I tend to cook a big batch of rice. And then what I do is I do other additional things. I put some seeds and nuts, and sometimes I put some herbs and spices, and then I cook it and I cool it. And the tip about rice, though, is to rapidly cool it, because there is this food poisoning thing that could happen if somebody has...
I've done my food safety.
Very good. Exactly. Especially for rice, there is the bacillus bacteria that if you kind of keep it like that warm-ish temperature for too long, then toxins would happen and then people get diarrhea very quickly, or vomiting very quickly rather. So then it's a case of rapidly cool it and put it into the fridge.
So do you put it in hot?
I think you let it cool a little bit.
Yeah, so what I do is after I've cooked it, I transfer it to like a stainless steel bowl, so then the heat will conduct away. And I kind of spread it out, so I let the steam, and it cools very quickly. Within like 20-30 minutes it'll be cool. Depends on the ambient temperature. So when I cook it, I have all the seeds and nuts and other things, and then I cool it. I tend to add a splash of extra virgin olive oil. And because the very, very first time I started looking into resistant starch, it was long before people started talking about it. But the very first paper, one of the very first papers came up from India. And in that research study, what they did was they used oil after it's cooked. So I thought, okay, we should put oil as part of the process of creating resistant starch. But now I realize we don't need to put oil. But I do like the concept of having healthy fats in our diets. So that is one of the ways, because as it's cooling, I just splash extra virgin olive oil, and that's actually why I put the seeds, the nuts, and sometimes I put some olives, and then I let it cool very quickly. Once I see the steam has resolved, then I just put it in the fridge.
That's
and
really
I cover
good.
it up.
And the seeds and nuts, is that again to combat the sugar spike?
It's also for all lots of nutrients. So I talk about the other micronutrients, including magnesium. We get the benefit of fiber. And the nice thing about eating whole foods, such as what we're cooking, is that there are lots of benefits. And sometimes it's benefits that we don't really know yet until we discover it later. Like there's this concept of something called phytonutrients, nutrients from plant foods itself. So it's perhaps the things that give the pigment, perhaps it's other things, So really, if I can incorporate some seeds and nuts, and then it kind of...
Just a way of getting it.
That's right. And also the healthy fats as well. Also then the fiber balances blood sugar, and also good for gut health. So lots of benefits. And then I kind of cook it in a batch. So the thing where, for example, if I don't have time in the morning to pre-prepare this, what I could do very quickly is that, because I tend to wake up quite early in the morning with my morning routine, so I have it quickly cooked, and it doesn't take long, just 15 minutes, really, very quickly.
Yeah.
And then I could quickly cool it whilst I'm doing my other things.
Yeah.
And I take it out, and I may have some chickpeas that I've already pre-prepared, or I use one of those organic pre-bought ones, and or at worst, even if I don't have time, I just go to buy one of those hummus that's prepared, that doesn't have additives. And there are a few places that I know, okay, they will sell some high street chains where I know that, okay, this brand has those non-preservative types. So I just have it. So like an interim. So it's a case of, okay, if I don't have time, it's okay. I know what to do. And sometimes I just buy some of those things from the shop.
Because I've got an app, the Yucca app.
Oh, I've heard of that one, yes.
So and hummus is quite interesting because my son, he really likes hummus.
Yes.
He doesn't really like many healthy foods, to be honest, but he does like hummus. And I scanned to try and get the best one if we're not cooking it. And there's quite a big difference.
Yes.
There really
difference.
is. So if you can if people just know the best one to get, it's easy.
That's right. Because once basically one of the things I advocate is people to look at labels.
Yeah.
When they understand how to read labels, then that guides consumer power.
Yeah.
And of course, companies will be guided by the consumer.
Yeah.
And so when there is a demand for things that is that's less processed, of course, the nature of modern society is we do need processed food. It's the avoiding the ultra processed ones without the emulsifiers, without the preservatives. And there are, because now I've read the labels, I know that there are two big popular ones in the UK that I know will have the hummus that will be fine for me. That will be fine with all those criteria.
So things like emulsifiers, because a lot of that's in like kind of oat milks, because I love a coffee.
Yes.
And then I started looking at the labels of some of the oat milks. They're not great, are they?
Well, there are specific brands which I've discovered.
Which one's the good one? Just nothing to do with the podcast, just for me. Which is the good ones for oat milk?
So the organic category of is it Oatly? I think it's called Oatly. Oatly. And you just go for the organic one. And if you look in ingredients, it's just oat and water.
That one,
That's
okay.
it. Yeah. You do have to shake it up a little bit though.
So there's a barista one that tastes amazing, but I'm sure it's got emulsifiers and stuff in it.
The thing I oftentimes say is that if you like it, it's okay if it's once in a while.
It's when it's every day.
It's not aiming for perfection. And it's just a little bit in the grand scheme of everything else. So there is this concept of us not maybe fearing ultra processed food. It's like once we're educated about it, then we can make our choices.
And I just want to ask, so what do you think is the best diet for brain health? If someone wants to have really good brain health, which I think probably affects many other things, what would you say is the best diet?
I think, so diet is quite a controversial topic.
Yes.
So
come on.
Yes, that's right. So there are a few big principles. Firstly, mostly plants. And whole foods. So it will be a case of getting as many varieties as possible. And I oftentimes signpost people to Dr. Michael Greger's work. I love his work. Very evidence-based.
Doesn't he love potatoes? Is he the one that loves potatoes?
He's plant-based. I do not know about the potato question.
I
know that he just...
beans. He loves beans.
It's beans, okay.
And he has this...
How Not to Die, is that the one?
How Not to Die. And he has this Daily Dozen app, which is free for people, and it really breaks down, it reminds people of different types of vegetables, because of course when I say vegetables, people are oftentimes thinking, the leafy types, the green one, but it's not just green leafy vegetables. You also have other things, the cruciferous ones, like the broccoli, the cauliflower, and of course you have different types of root vegetables. You have the beans, the nuts, the seeds, the legumes itself. You have the lentils, you have the beans, and as much variety as possible. And of course, when people talk about, in the UK there is the 5 servings of fruit or veg. It's good that there is recommend something. Although I oftentimes say choose your veg and your fruit. If you can, have those with really rich antioxidants like berries, because it's like blueberries, for example, has got the dark pigmentation that's great for, the brain health and also gut health. So, lots of berries, different types of vegetables. So firstly, plants, lots of it, a whole variety.
And so with the blueberries as well, they're so expensive organic. I mean, if you buy them non-organic, is it bad, or what do you think?
So it depends on how much somebody's eating. I guess if it's it's better to have berries than none at all.
Okay.
So if it's a choice between the standard one or nothing, go for the standard one.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, it's this concept of how we don't aim for perfection.
Yeah.
But being informed, if we have the choice, yes,
Go
for
organic.
that.
Yeah.
And the tip I give is also that, well, there are various ways to decide on different types of food, whether you go for because let's say, organic food, sadly, it tends to be more expensive, but I hope with consumer power, it will drive the price down. Certainly in the past 15 years, you can see a lot more of that.
Yeah.
So, like now you go, Sainsbury's, Asda, Tesco, you get organic.
Yeah, you do. Sainsbury's, you do.
Yeah.
Quite
15
a bit.
years ago,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not really available. But that's driven by consumer.
So do you think the consumer? Because we all, sometimes you're all in a little bit of an echo chamber or whatever, that you sort of see the people, or you've got confirmation bias. I run plant-based retreats. People are interested in plant-based nutrition. Like, our children certainly are not interested because they're teenagers and their culture is almost junk food.
Yes.
And it really stresses me out.
Yes, I understand.
And I'm like, how is that? Is that changing? Are they going to have to wait until their 20s, or they can kind of look at this and not have to kind of eat junk food to fit in? Because it's quite big, the consumption of just junk food.
Well, I think it's not only just to fit in. I think it tastes bloody amazing.
Yes,
exactly.
So it's really hard to say, don't eat that
Yes.
and eat this. When they eat that, it tastes amazing. It's so difficult.
Yeah. So a few reflections. My nephews are teenagers.
Yeah.
And I realized that a few things. Firstly, it has to firstly taste good.
Yes. Yeah.
Doesn't matter about is it nutritionally good or not.
Yeah.
It has to taste good.
Yes. Yeah.
So when they get introduced foods that actually taste good, as an alternative, then for example, if they are at the dining table and you give them varieties of things that they can pick from, if something tastes good, then they'll try it again. And such things, for example, that could be one. It could be for example, if your teenager is having like friends over, you can have a barbecue and you can offer those fries that's actually you made it, air fried it, and actually it doesn't, and sometimes the alternative doesn't taste different. So the fries example, you could buy certain, I just remember when I used to look in the freezer section, some of the frozen fries has got loads of things ultra processed, some is actually just quite plain, and now I realize that we can just easily make homemade ones with all the tools really quite quick.
That's true.
Blitz air fry it, and it still tastes good. That's the key thing. That's the key thing for them to kind of think about that. And I also think about it as not to say no. More to offer an option as an addition. And that kind of then encourages action. And also some of the things I realize is as you would be doing, you're embodying it, and they will kind of mirror that.
Yes, so we were talking about that model behaviour.
Just be the person you want them to become.
Exactly. And don't worry, because things can be reversed.
That's true.
Well, and because I love it so much. You're such a loving mother. Clearly you love, so you care so much, and they'll be okay.
They'll be okay.
Humans are also resilient.
Yes, that's true.
It's having this bigger picture, which is why oftentimes when I talk about health, I try to move away from fear. I move towards empowering, giving people the tools, and then they have the choice.
And can I ask you, just moving on to the brain, so there's a couple of things I want to ask you. Personally, my son actually has ADHD. So I don't know if you know, I'm going to ask you about magnesium as well, because I know you've got a whole book on it, and I supplement my son with magnesium. But I have read that with ADHD brains, they actually do lack magnesium. I don't know if that's scientifically correct or not. But do you know about the brain and ADHD? And what is it, a disorder? Or is it just a sort of personality trait?
I haven't looked at it in depth, because ADHD tends to be looked after by people trained in psychiatry. So in my day-to-day job, I don't look after a large number of people with ADHD. I do have people who come to see me and they have other neurological conditions, and they do also have ADHD.
Yeah.
So I'm of course informed in that way, but
Yeah.
not informed enough to give you the in-depth
Yeah.
answer that you need. But I'm happy to look it up,
Yeah,
for
no, that's
example,
fine.
to give you more.
She'll be at you, I'm telling you. Everyone we get on the podcast, she's sending her bloods and all sorts.
I'm here to help. Here to help. Here to help.
No, we do actually. We had a neurologist come to our retreat in the UK and in Portugal, and he's interesting, his lifestyle story as well, because he was a neurologist for all his life, and then when he retired, he was a bit unhealthy. Like his bloods weren't good, his cholesterol was high. So a bit similar to you, he did loads and loads of research, and he basically read every paper under the sun, and basically his conclusion was like the plant-based diet is completely optimal for health. So very similar. But just to go back to the magnesium, so you've got a whole book on magnesium. So tell us the importance of magnesium on the brain and what. And you don't really believe in supplementing, I don't think, but maybe if you're lacking, is that right?
Yes. Well, generally, I can finish up later on about the more for the brain kind of foods, because there's much more to it. But coming to the supplement question, I oftentimes suggest that ideally we get our nutrients from food, if possible. But then it's also difficult because sometimes, for example, the soil is depleted. Depends on farming methods. When really large, which is partly why there is so magnesium intake is less than the recommended amount, just because of people relying on ultra-processed foods, people's lifestyle depleting the magnesium, and also the soil itself with the farming methods. It all affects the magnesium levels, generally speaking. So if we can source lots of magnesium-rich foods, kind of a lot of dark greens, seeds and nuts, and lots of other kind of things, beans and such things also will have a combination of nutrients, including magnesium, then people can increase their sources. In some people, when they are having a lot of difficulty, they may need that gap helped with supplementation. So for example, I also look after a lot of people with migraines. So when people have migraines, if they are really in a really bad state, I do advise them to take magnesium supplements, and then changing the other life aspects to then recover, and then they transition away to not just rely on supplements. The key thing about supplements, though, is not regulated well. So I oftentimes recommend, if somebody wants a supplement, firstly, look to see that it's from a reputable company, not just somebody just buying off Amazon without checking. Amazon is fine, it's just that it has to be the right source. I've even heard recently that there are sellers who sell fraudulent products that is impersonating a company that you think you're buying from.
Really?
Being aware of those kind of practices, looking at the label to check that it's got third-party certification, so somebody else, not just the company, saying that it contains the ingredients it has. And also there is something called GMP, good manufacturing practice, to then confirm that this is a product that's created in the standards of pharmaceutical standards.
Have you heard of the company British Supplements?
I've heard of them, yes.
Yeah, we use them a lot, and they're supposed to have like no nasties in it. But then how do you know? If you know what I mean? If you're not really looking at, have they got third-party certification? I don't know.
I write to them. I say, can you please show me the certificate?
Do you?
Yes. We
That's
should do
brilliant.
that as consumers.
Yeah, we should do that.
We should do that as consumers, yes.
So what dosage would you recommend if someone felt like they needed magnesium? And what are the signs that you're lacking magnesium?
Sometimes it's quite hard to know the signs because it's a bit vague. Migraines would be slightly different situation where, somebody got migraines, then that's a different scenario.
So would that happen, someone that was lacking magnesium, would those migraines happen daily, weekly, or?
It does vary because it's not just about magnesium. There are lots of other factors as part of the root cause of magnesium, for example. But generally speaking, energy levels could be affected, metabolic health could be affected. So this concept of insulin resistance and how that could be leading to problems related to magnesium. Sleep could be affected. Pain could be contributed by lack of magnesium. So it can be quite tricky. And the other tricky thing is it's actually hard to measure it. Because most of our magnesium is stored in our bones. So we can't actually, the blood test doesn't really show it because everything will be pulled from the bones. So the blood test would be normal unless somebody is so depleted. That when it's measured, it's really, really late by that time. So then, so that's why day to day is quite hard. So I do advocate that people have nutrient-rich foods that include magnesium.
And so what would your
I just want to ask, and what type, because there's quite a few types of magnesium,
isn't
there?
That's right.
Which one would you recommend?
So I think it's really hard to say a specific one. When you look at different research studies, maybe one specific type is, for example, in migraines, magnesium oxide, magnesium citrate is studied. And then there's this question of how much is absorbed then by different studies. And then magnesium glycinate is used for another type of study, and magnesium L-threonate is used for another.
Yeah.
So there are lots and lots of different types. And so I kind of take a step back and say, all right, good. You have studies showing magnesium can help with this. Do we know that one is better than the other? Actually, we don't have head-to-head comparison about one type versus the other type. It's more of magnesium versus something else.
Oh, I see.
That's right. So then I say to people, go by how you feel. Some people, they find that one type gives them a lot of gastrointestinal upset, bloating, diarrhea, or another type, they absorb really well. So I just say, go with what's available and how your body tolerates it, and take it from there.
And I've heard people say that magnesium is really good if you have digestive issues, if you're constipated, upping your magnesium levels. Is that right?
So magnesium can be used as a laxative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So didn't we give it
that's
to
right.
Mum for a while?
Yeah.
But because it didn't come from a doctor, she
Yeah.
didn't trust it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you're giving me. She's Irish, my mum. But we gave it work.
It really worked, but because it worked so well, she thought it was some sort of, we were witch doctors, and she was like, I don't want anything to do
fantastic.
with this. I'm going to go back to the doctor.
Yeah, so she's now got, what's it called? Is it Movicol? She's on loads of, she's older, she's got Movicol.
That's right.
She's got Movicol. She's on Movicol.
Yes, that's right.
But it's actually quite interesting because she's, and I have read some studies on this, you might have done as well, but she's got dementia now. It's very, very mild, to be honest, and she's doing really, really well. But I did read a link between severe constipation and dementia. Did you read anything about that?
That's the thing about gut health, you see the importance of gut health. So we are now seeing more and more connections now that people are kind of looking at it. There's more and more connections of brain, there's neurological disorders and gut disorders. So it's a question of, is it the cause or is it a link? And it's really quite hard to answer this question.
Yeah.
But now you step back a little bit further. Okay, what are the what's the reason we want to have good gut health? There are a few things that happens when we have good gut health, including kind of the microbiome, the bacteria and other microorganisms that create compounds that could be anti-inflammatory, that could help with our mood and such things. So there is, if we step back, a principle of going, it kind of makes sense that having good gut health will be good for the brain. There is a connection, the vagus nerve that connects to the brain, and also the non-direct transmission through our bloodstream and going to the brain. So there are all these potential ways that could work. It's harder for me to say, okay, this study shows definitively because it's actually firstly hard to fund studies in that way. So then sometimes I just go, okay, what is the evidence out there? And then of course, if it's animal studies, animals are not the same as humans, then how do we kind of think back first principles, and then if we do use it, how do we avoid harm and how are we sensible about it? Hence the whole, definitely good to open your bowels, you know, regularly, once a day, minimum. Talk about the consistency of the bowels, what are we eating, moving really helps the gut to move, hydration. So there are lots of things that we can do that improves our gut health, that also improves the brain.
Okay. As you mentioned a little bit there about the vagus nerve,
Yes.
and obviously you've written books about the mindfulness, and I know the vagus nerve. I always get a bit like, what is the vagus nerve? But so tell us a little bit about that, about mindfulness, the vagus nerve. How do we, access the vagus nerve? What does it actually do? Just tell us a little bit about this.
Thank you. The vagus nerve is cranial nerve number 10. Cranial nerves, we have 12 cranial nerves, so nerves that kind of supply I guess cranium. And the vagus nerve is nerve number 10. But it's also, it goes all the way down to the gut, to the heart, to the chest, to the base. So it's like a vagabond. The wanderer. So hence the word vagus.
Okay.
So it has two functions. Not two functions. It's got two directions. One is kind of it gives information out, and then it also receives information in. Okay. So it's related to things like the breath, the digestive tract. And so, for example, you talk about activating the vagus nerve and mindfulness. Certain types of breathwork exercises can certainly activate it. It then changes the heart rate, slows down the heart rate. There are loads of effect from activating that. So from the yoga tradition, with me kind of in the past doing work with my clients with things like humming, all that vibration also does activate the vagus nerve. And there's lots of interesting work. I'm very fortunate. I had training with Jill Miller, this amazing yoga teacher, and also, doing further training in the polyvagal theory, understanding what they're thinking about. So there are other things that you could do from around the face, from massages, and things to stimulate the sensation, for example, that then activates the vagus nerve for more of this sense of, I guess, for simplicity, kind of relaxation response.
So by activating the vagus nerve,
yes,
how is that helpful?
So it kind of balances the autonomic nervous system.
Right.
So the nervous system, there is the automatic nervous system, which does the automatic functions like blood pressure, heart rate, sweating, pupil dilation. And the vagus nerve is part of that balance. So, which is why when we are doing our slow breathing or long exhales, it starts to activate the vagus nerve. It helps with our digestive tract, it slows down our heart rate, kind of allows the more rest and relaxed response of the autonomic nervous system. So then that helps with that.
It's really good to hear this because I really push mindfulness away.
Yeah.
I think I'm too busy.
I understand.
And it gets on my nerves.
I understand.
But when I hear you say that, I kind of think, oh, it's really important.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. I understand though. Tell me why you have this concept of pushing it away. Is it that you say no time?
I find it irritating.
Well, yeah, in the morning I wake
interesting.
up and I think, oh, I'll do some meditation.
Yes,
I think,
yes.
go down and have a coffee instead.
Oh, I get it.
See what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. So this is a nice story to share with you about how I got into this whole mindfulness thing.
Okay.
So around the time when I started doing yoga, I've realized that when I started to practice this as a movement, a mindful movement practice, it settled me. Then I could sit to so-called meditate. Because before that, I'm like too like.
That's what I'm like.
Exactly. Which is why, and then of course, then I did further training again, a certification.
You just don't stop training, do you?
I have to stop. Do more courses. Always do courses. But it was
maybe there's a something out there for you for an addiction to courses.
Course addiction.
What are you running from?
Go on a course for course addiction.
Yeah, exactly. It's a funny joke with my friends as well. But it was actually so I'll keep this relatively brief as you wish.
No, it's fine. No.
So like the mindfulness thing, when I started noticing my personal benefits to it, and then I thought, okay, I want to be able to bring it to talk about it in my clinics. And I at that time I kept my yoga world and my hospital world completely separate because I can't tell. I'm talking mindfulness because I'm a yoga teacher, therefore I'm qualified. Yeah. I just thought I couldn't do that. So then I went to Oxford to train in the Oxford Mindfulness Centre, and that was around the time when I just got so inspired to like, okay, I really need to do more work on this, do more research on this, and I've therefore been delivering mindfulness research. And as part of the program I deliver, the mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, there are lots of different mindfulness skills. It's not just sitting quietly.
Yeah.
Because I talked about how I got into it through movement. And from my research, I noticed that some people do get drawn to one or the other, and it's great because there are lots of options, which is actually why I wrote the book that I did, the mindfulness for brain health one. This one,
there we go.
It's because exactly like you say, I don't have time. Exactly, very common.
Yeah.
And the thing, my mind's too busy. Yes, very good. That's a human mind. You are human. Very good.
Yeah.
And it's about just understanding that, and then bringing the skills. And sometimes it's just creating moments. You love your coffee.
Yeah.
For example, you wake up in the morning and it's just a case of, let me just notice the smell of this, of the aroma of the beans, of the cup. Hold it in my hand, feel the warmth, feeling how my body is that morning. And as I take my first sip, just noticing how it travels down. And how the taste evolves.
I feel like I'm going under.
Yeah, it's amazing. And actually, one of the loveliest things that
sounds lovely. We'll do that tomorrow morning.
Yeah, but how does that help us?
It starts to change the way that we have our interface with our day to day.
Okay.
Most of us are living in our heads.
Yeah.
You know, as we are walking to the station, we are thinking, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to get there? When I get there, what else do I need to do? What am I going to have for dinner? Or living in the future, or living in the past, going, oh, why did I not say that? Why did I say that? You know, why did this happen? You know, living in the past. And you know, that would be in our heads rather than being in the moment with, okay, I'm walking, kind of noticing the sensation of walking and just being with ourselves, with our body. I oftentimes say that mindfulness is, yes, there is the practice itself, there is the character itself, and there is the state of how mindful you are. So there are different ways that people can think about it in research. And this concept of mindful moments is just being able to be here without having to be elsewhere.
Yeah.
And just noticing.
Well, it's quite interesting because first thing in the morning, Loretta and I, we always, because we live together with our two children. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I always feel a bit embarrassed. Sound like
I love it so much. Oh my
but no, it's lovely.
It's very
lovely.
special.
It is very special.
I have a sister, and my bond with my sister is so precious.
It-
So I love it when I was like, oh, the Gavin sisters. I was like, oh, I love to come on.
Yeah, no, we do. Sometimes, as I said, I feel a bit embarrassed sometimes because people sort of go, "What? Well, you've divorced, but you live together, and how don't you have boyfriends? And how does this work?" And anyway, but we do live together, and we are super, super close, and we're very similar in many ways. And we have these little rituals, and one of our rituals is, yes, we get the coffee, but we always go for a walk first thing because I like to move when I get up.
Wonderful.
So with our coffee, usually in our
Wonderful.
pajamas, quite early.
Oh,
but I was just thinking we could incorporate some
Yes.
of that on the walk.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Kind of sensing
Leave our
the
phones
body.
at home rather than checking. And
Exactly. There is an audio on my a mindfulness audio guide that comes with my book for free. That helps you with. There's one on a mindful cup of tea, which is the lovely thing where a colleague and friend of mine from work at a conference, she came to me and said, every day I think of you when I have my cup of tea. I hear your voice to give me the prompt. And also there is one about a walk in the park. So, you know, listening to audio to help you kind of go, okay, let me just see how it creates that moment.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
And that's quite interesting. So it's kind of building those micro moments into your daily rituals, which don't have to feel like they're taking over your whole life. Like, you know, when I say to you, I can't be bothered to meditate, I think that I need to put that in context because I kind of weigh up how many things I could do. I love running. So do I do a run? I could spend my whole morning doing you know, wellness rituals,
Never
but
get any work done.
I can't do that. So I kind of go, I've got enough time to do a run, I'll do that.
Could be a mindful run.
Yeah, well, actually, a lot of the time I don't really listen to stuff. So
it is mindfulness when you're running.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of rhythmically noticing your breath or the sensation of the body. You know,
but you talk just because I was just Stella, who's with us today. I was telling her I run a lot with her mum, but I was saying, you know, when I run, I do because I push meditation away because I think I'm a really high energy person, so I'm just like always.
You probably
like this.
need it.
I probably need it. Yeah.
No, you do need it.
All right. But when I run, that's when I kind of my brain slows down. But sometimes running's quite painful, so you have to kind of really talk to yourself. So you have a little narrative that goes on, going, "You're okay. This is hard. That's all right. Just get through the hill." And you have to be quite gentle with yourself. And then sometimes when you get quite fit, that's what's quite nice about being fit. If you're not doing hills, but it's just flat, you can just run. And you just sort of slow the thinking down, and it really, and that's part of why you feel so good afterwards.
I love running myself because I find that, and actually I accidentally got into mindfulness type breath work rhythmically through running before I understood about mindfulness. I wrote about it at the start of my book because that was like I was 19 years old, and I was my first or second year in university, medical school. And at that time, I studied in Newcastle, and everybody did this thing called the Great North Run, because it's almost like a thing about before you leave, you have to have done the Great North Run. And that's when I thought, okay, let me just start running. But it was super painful. I did not know how to run. But I accidentally then discovered the rhythmic breath and running. And that was my first taste into mindful movement. So running could be one of those. And then when you start getting in tune with your body, sometimes you go, today I'll go for a brisk walk. I still get the benefits. I don't need to push myself. Or today I would like to push myself. You know, like getting in tune with what the body needs.
So out of all the pillars of wellness, you've got nutrition, exercise, sleep, mindfulness. What would you say is the most important? What should we be prioritising?
Oh, it's quite difficult to answer that question.
Yes.
And in fact, there is more than that. I have something, a framework I call the BRAINS method.
Right.
BRAINS, which is really a contraction of building brain resilience and balancing the autonomic nervous system. And there are various practices that could help to build the brain resilience, and there are practices for balancing the autonomic nervous system, and they're all interconnected. And I oftentimes offer it on a plate. Think of it like, you go to a restaurant, you have a menu, and you choose which one you go with. And probably the most powerful one is the one that the person feels they either want to do or they can do.
Yeah.
So yes, it could include sleep, could include physical activity, could be nutrition, could be gut health, could be removing toxins, it could be mindset, and a lot more in that kind of category of building brain resilience, or it could be about breath work for the autonomic nervous system. It could be mind-body movement, yoga type movement, Tai Chi type movement, or even mindful running, mindful walking, or visualization using hypnosis type method to kind of create a change in mind state, or a vagus nerve activation, humming, tapping, things like that. Just kind of thinking a little bit outside into the integrative side of what could be useful. So both all together could make a big difference. And I think of it actually being more like a domino effect.
Yeah.
When something starts working, and firstly, it's possible to implement. I always ask people to question everything I say. It's very good to question everything I say. Test it out for yourself and see how you feel.
Yeah.
So when somebody starts making a little change, then it creates a domino effect. For example, in my NHS care, there are people start talking about nutrition, and maybe all they do is they add in a portion of vegetables.
Yeah.
And then that starts to create a change. And then over some weeks to months, they're telling me about how they are preparing food, they've stopped taking takeaways, therefore their ultra-processed food consumption is reduced, they are being more active, so it creates a big domino effect.
Okay.
And is the NHS on board with you giving this lifestyle advice alongside your medical advice?
Well, I'm very lucky because actually when I mentioned, I better get certified, can I talk about lifestyle medicine? And then it continued, it evolved, and at one of the hospitals I work, called St. Thomas's Hospital, I had this concept. I wanted to do group care in using a lot of lifestyle based, and thankfully, my clinical lead was on board, and I did it as part of a project where then I checked the quality of it, and I will make sure that people don't come to harm from me doing interventions such as this. What are the benefits? And it's been a resounding success. It's been co-developed with patients, so we still get feedback from every time after sessions, and it just gives me goosebumps because people talk about how it's very different from me talking about what works compared to somebody who's been through that journey, been discharged or getting discharged in remission from their condition because they've taken action. And the person who's in the same boat, they kind of see, I can do this. This works.
Yeah.
Although people do, they know that we're very holistic, we are very caring. It's different because I don't have the condition that they have.
Yeah.
So to be in a room with others, there is the support, peer-to-peer learning, and also that they're not alone. Because some conditions, people go, I'm all alone.
Yeah. But also you're offering hope. I know, like, when I was, trying to kind of become symptom-free from my disease, the doctors basically back then and they were amazing and they did really look after me, but they were very much like, you'll be on these meds for life, that's it, I'm afraid. Luckily there are meds for you to take.
Get used to a new normal.
Get used to a new normal. And I just wanted someone like you to go, look, there are other things we can do. I mean, I remember going, I was on, as I've told you before we started filming, I was on quite toxic, heavy drugs.
Yes.
And I remember sort of going, is it all right that I drink a couple of glasses of wine a night? And they were like, well, whatever relaxes you. And I was like, but you're testing my liver every month in case it's like damaging my liver. Are you sure it's okay for me to drink wine? And I desperately wanted them to say yes. And they did, obviously before I changed everything. But I really was looking like to work alongside a medical doctor, not something woohoo on the internet, to go, look, we can do both. What if? And that's what I did. What if we keep on the meds, which I did.
Yes.
change all the lifestyle factors and then slowly come off the meds to see if
Yes.
you can do it. And that's basically, you know, what I did in the end.
That's
So,
great. That's great
yeah.
because it's kind of, you're taking a very sensible approach.
Yeah.
And it's not like, okay, I'm just going to dump it all. And
Yes.
No, I did it really slowly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is part of my job, I feel. My job is to provide the best possible care, and part of it is giving people the options, whether it's prescription medications, whether it's lifestyle-based approaches, and knowing when that actually just lifestyle approaches isn't yet enough because they're in a critical situation. They
Yeah.
need the drugs.
Yeah.
And then we can start to talk about how do we come off it, because
Yeah.
in my mind is firstly giving people the choice. I'm there as a guide to facilitate for their
Yeah.
healing and their recovery. And then if I do prescribe something, it's like the question of when do we come off it? What
Yeah.
is our,
what's the
goal?
plan?
Yeah,
So
the
it's the
goal.
goal, yeah.
And sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's more difficult.
Yeah.
And sometimes people don't want to talk about lifestyle
Yeah.
approach, which is also fine. I'm not there to
Yeah.
tell them to do something they don't want to do. I'm there to give them choice.
I mean, that's the part of the problem as well, which I always say, like, if the doctor said to you, if it was as black and white as this, like, okay, we can give you these medicines for life, or you become plant-based, you cut processed foods, you cut processed sugars, you cut alcohol, and there's a chance you might get better. A lot of people go, no thanks, I'll just take the meds.
That's right.
Do you know what
That's
I
right.
mean?
That's right.
And that went through when I started doing the research, I went to Loretta and I was like, I don't want to be this miserable teetotal vegan. Like, I'd rather just take the drugs.
But I think there's an education piece around it.
Yes.
And I think if people were better informed, were more educated, if the government worked alongside doctors in more of a preventative way
Yes.
rather than a reactionary way, then the NHS wouldn't be in the state that it's in. I mean, I know diabetes is massively on the rise. Dementia's on the rise.
Absolutely. That's why I'm so passionate about coming to podcasts or these interviews like yours, like what's happening now, because I feel that when we start talking about this, it really raises the whole awareness of it. I'm actually writing a book.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. The next book is about all this thing about how we improve our brain. So answering some of the questions that you have, preventing dementia, all that in greater depth.
Oh, that'd be great. I would love to read that.
Well, can you just give us a little snippet? So dementia, because obviously, we've been talking about it.
Yes.
What actions can we take that can help us prevent dementia?
So I think one of the really exciting things more recently is that there has been this big study that's shown that actually there are modifiable risk factors that reduces and can prevent the progression, reduces the risk of dementia. So that the broadly speaking would be things that improves our heart health, things that improve our circulation. So it will be the really obvious things. Yeah, exercise, avoiding smoking, excess amount of alcohol, nutrition, the kind of lifestyle based. So the kind of things that we go, yeah, it kind of makes sense. Yes, if we can implement it, which is partly why I feel sometimes when I write, it's not about telling people, this works. It's more about going, how do we help to implement? Which is exactly the question that you asked me about. Out of all these, which is the most effective? And I go, the most effective is the one that somebody feels like they want to or they can.
Or they can stick to. Yeah.
And then it's about how do we then support it in a suitable way, because different people may have different approaches of how they think about how they implement things. And coming back to, do I want to be a vegan, a teetotal vegan, or I'd rather take the drugs? And oftentimes when people start making changes, I again ask them to test it out, just question everything. And when they start to feel better, then they'll continue. Kind of going back to the conversation about teenagers and coming off ultra-processed foods, when it gives them food that tastes good, and then actually they may notice that, they feel better. They don't feel bloated. They don't get a crash in energy. They're not so moody because actually they feel better. Then naturally, we will kind of then choose the option that helps us feel better. So it's not about living a boring life. It's more about, what makes us feel good.
Yeah, well, even I went running with my son recently, and he's not great in the mornings, sort of a bit of ADHD brain. He's like particularly grumpy in the mornings, and he was always like that, even as a baby. Like Loretta's baby would like wake up like gurgling and playing with her feet. He literally would wake up, realise that he was alone, and go, like his mornings. But the other day I said to him, he's really, really fit, and he's really into exercise. And I said, why don't you come and do a 3-mile run with me? And we did this run, but I'm much slower than him. And he was getting really angry on the run, right? Going, I don't know the way, you're so slow. And I was like, oh my God. He was like really like the angry runner. It was actually it was awful, but it was sort of weirdly comical. But at the end, when we'd finished, he was such a nightmare, like completely ruined my run. But when we ended, it was a really stiff hill on the end. And then as he steep, yeah. And as I got to the end, and he was waiting for me, and he just looked at me, and he just went, "Sorry, Mum," and I was like, "It's all right." And he was like, I could tell he'd run it out of his system. He'd run all the anxiousness, the anger. And I said to him, and you were just saying about let them see the links. I said, do you feel better now? And he went, yeah. And I said, that's the running, Carter.
Exactly.
I said, you've woken up really wound up. I said, you've ran it out of your system, and it's getting those links in.
Yes, interestingly, your advice on let people see how they feel.
Yes.
And Sharon and I did that experiment because I was a little bit cynical about especially influencers on Instagram and stuff. I was like, do you know what I mean? But actually what I found was that I became happier and that became addictive. So I felt like I could turn up for the day and I felt like I had the energy to cope with this, with what life was throwing at Sharon and I. And that made me make more changes.
Yeah, it became addictive.
Yeah, but I think you do have to give it a chance, because I think some people go, I did broccoli for a week and nothing happened. And I think you really need to throw yourself at it for 30 days, even if it's just one thing, and see if that changes anything.
And sometimes it's just showing up. So there was this lady out, she was in my migraine program, and one of the pillars would be about physical activity. So she decided that what she wanted to do was to cycle in the mornings. And then initially it was a case of, okay, how do we cross that barrier? And the crossing the barrier is actually, the procrastination, going, oh, I gotta go upstairs to change my clothes. What do I? And then we kind of work through that, and then, step by step. And then there would be the time where it was going, oh, I don't really want to do it. And then it's a case of, okay, I've done it now. And for her to be able to clock after she's done it, she may feel good or she may not feel good, but sometimes it's about acknowledging that I showed up for myself.
That feels good. Nice.
And then continues. And then as she continued to do that, she loves it. She feels energized. It
takes a little while, doesn't it, as well?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. I'm just aware of time. That hour has absolutely flown by. Yeah,
so much more to talk about.
Let's grab the book.
Oh, I just want to ask you one question. Yes. I mean, this is probably completely left field, but it's only because you talked about visualization. This is probably a bit of a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you believe like visualization and manifestation? Do you believe that you can kind of visualize your future and bring things to you, like a manifestation type thing? Because people talk about that a lot in visualization.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't actually know the answer to that, but what I do know is that when we use visualizations or hypnosis, self-hypnosis, or if we go to somebody who's trained to deliver hypnotherapy, it can create a mind and body state change. I've actually written a chapter in a book called Psychoneuroimmunology that uses our mindset change, our immune system of using visualization to help cancer, for example. When somebody's receiving their chemotherapy, how we can use that to help somebody visualize where their drugs are going.
Amazing.
Changing the cancer cells, destroying the cancer cells, the healing of the body from the clearance of the cancer cells, and the power of those things, certainly from the body perspective, there's a lot of evidence for that. The manifestation, I can think of how that could work. For example, if somebody is kind of open-minded, then when opportunities come, they see it, for example. Well, I haven't delved into the research of manifestation.
I just want to be rich, so...
I've heard of that, actually. Somebody said, okay, I'm going to manifest, I'm going to get money, and then they start seeing money on the ground. They pick up money, see $100 bill, see $1,000 bill. Things like that.
You might be interested in his work. Is he a paediatrician? His name's James Doty. Have you heard of him?
Probably.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of, I think he was a surgeon. Is that a paediatrician? But he was a surgeon. But anyways, he's written a lot of books about visualization and manifesting, bringing things into your life when you focus on them and you visualize them every day. And so, I just see what you think.
Amazing.
So should we just quickly, we'll round off,
just grab your books. I think you brought them, so it'd be nice to see them.
Thank you so much. So actually, I would write this because I just feel like, okay, we need to change the conversation. So mindfulness for brain health. This one is really to help people create mindful moments throughout the day. And it's quite cool because there is there are more than 12 chapters, but for 12 chapters, there's a list of things that people can pick for self-care.
Okay.
Lovely.
And I've got, and there's free audio guide, like the one about mindful cup
We're
of
going to
tea.
use that one, aren't we?
Tomorrow,
amazing.
walking.
Amazing. And then the magnesium one we mentioned, so that's quite new. Sweet spot, I love sweet spot because this whole conversation about metabolic health, about the swings of blood sugar, how it affects us, how it affects the brain, and it's very practical. My books are actually written in a way that helps people feel inspired firstly to make a change, and then secondly, actually what are the first steps to do it and how to keep momentum on it. So
is that why you do the resistant starch thing?
Yes, that's right. I shared more about resistant starch, and actually this book, I think I have a 30-day. I need to remind myself which book has what. But I think this one, it's a 12-week challenge. Some people have said, they really like.
So is that good if you wanted to cut sugar? You could.
That's right. But actually, it's not about abstinence.
Oh, right.
So it's about how we balance our blood sugar, optimize our brain energy.
Yes.
So this people like that
we
one.
did a Dexcom to check it just for a month, just to check it out. It's quite interesting.
You found interesting patterns.
Yeah. We went for Thai, and oh my god,
kind of sharp spike.
And then we started walking very.
Very good.
To get it down because I love Thai and I don't want to give it up.
Let's go.
Quick. We're going to walk.
I shared about things. And then actually, next time you go for Thai, perhaps you could have some veggies first.
That's a good idea.
And then have the kind of I talk also about how we sequence our food. Certain starters will help stabilize food. Some veggies first, or before you got to the Thai restaurant, maybe have an avocado first.
Okay,
for example,
little
simple things, and you can decide about your rice. If let's say if people have takeaway, then they can have their own rice with the resistant starch. For example,
that's great.
Break free from migraines because I talk a lot about migraines, lifestyle based. So that's quite nice. And these two are workbooks. Workbooks because actually some people may not wish to read, but actually they want to take action. So ultra processed food is a big thing. I talk a lot with my patients about this. So this is basically 6 weeks of things that they can do, feel empowered.
That's brilliant.
And they kind of feel, this is really quite quite fun to do. So I've had really nice feedback about that, and also about sleeping. I talk about sleep all the time in my clinics.
How much sleep should we be getting?
Great question. It depends on the individual, but on average population,
8 hours,
population-wise between 7 to 9. I advise people to notice how they feel in the morning. I advise people to keep to a regular pattern to then notice how they feel, and then they can work out how much sleep. And lots of factors affect the need for sleep.
And should we? And sorry, because I know we're running out of time. But is there such a thing? Because I've read a book called The Circadian Rhythm about going to sleep for around 10 before midnight. It's better quality sleep than after midnight.
Sleep before midnight would generally be better. So of course I'm going to talk about the general situation. In the clinics there are exceptions because some genetic conditions means that people actually do have a shift in their inner clock. So the circadian rhythm, as you know, is our inner body clock to be able to tell us night wake and sleep, to help to regulate that. And as we sleep, we go through different cycles. Many cycles. Each cycle is about 90 to 100 minutes. And with each cycle, people go from light sleep to deep sleep to the REM, rapid eye movement stages, and then they cycle again. So when we keep to a regular rhythm, the quality of sleep with each cycle is better. And also the first half of the night, there is longer deep sleep within the cycle. And the second half of the night sleep, there is more REM. So keeping to a regular pattern would really help to optimize each stage. So which is why
the deep sleep better then?
I think all the stages are important. There are probably different benefits. We think that the deep sleep is better for clearance of toxins. There is this system called the glymphatic system that flushes out toxins, which is great. It also is the time for embedding memory, for example. And the REM could be for emotional regulation, the immune system, stress response. But of course, they all contribute as well. So generally speaking, I think if we keep to a regular rhythm, the regular bed and night and wake time, then the quality of sleep would be much better.
Brilliant.
For each stage.
Thank
we
you.
could keep you here all day
Yes.
asking you questions. You've been an absolute, so knowledgeable. So that's been amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
And if people want to work with you, what's the best way to contact you?
So I have a website.
Yeah.
It's drsuiwongmd.com. So that's drsuiwongmd.com.
Yeah.
So when people go to the website, they can learn more about me. There is a form that pops up to sign up to my Thursday tips. I've got a very popular Thursday
I'm gonna
tips.
sign up
Thursday
to
tips.
that.
Yeah, oh, thank
Okay.
you. So
Yeah.
every Thursday I write a very short newsletter with 3 tips and 1 question. It's less than a minute read, so it's really
Brilliant.
nice and short and punchy.
It's good for me.
Yeah, I'll put it in the notes. I'll
Oh,
put it in
amazing.
the
Thank you
notes.
so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much.
Such a pleasure to be here.
Wealth of
Gavin
knowledge.
Sisters. Oh, love it. Thank you so
Cheers.
much.
You've been listening to the Gavin Sisters Wellness Show. Please don't forget to share the episode, subscribe, like. It really helps, doesn't it, with all the algorithms. And yeah, it helps us get better guests. So thank you so much.